Okay, so good afternoon, students. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so basically, this class was regarding your control system lab class. Okay, but since the all the experiments which are there in your syllabus, the first experiment is related to time domain analysis. Okay, then after that, many experiments are associated with the time domain analysis, and then many experiments are there related to stability also. Since till now you have just completed the transfer function and the block reduction and Mason gain, so that is why before completing the time domain analysis you will not be able to understand the lab experiments. So today in this class I will be teaching you the theory portion of the time domain analysis. Okay, so I will be starting the new module, so this class will be a theory class. So once you cover this portion, then from the next day onwards we can start with the lab. Okay, so this module is the time domain and frequency domain. Okay, so we will be discussing about the time domain analysis. Okay, now we have discussed about the transfer function so far, that any particular system is represented in terms of S domain. Okay, so and every control system is represented in a block diagram, and from that block diagram, by using the block reduction technique or by using Mason gain formula, we determine the ultimate overall transfer function of a system. Okay, now if you obtain the transfer function of a system, that transfer function means it is the Laplace transform of the output by the Laplace transform of the input, considering all the initial conditions to be 0. So that means the the transfer function is actually in the S domain, because it is a Laplace transform. So if it is in S domain, now this, what is the application of this transfer function? It is basically used for determining the stability of a system, whether the system is stable or not. If it is unstable, then what changes it is required to make so that it becomes stable. So that stability performance and stability analysis is done by the use of transfer function. So that we will be studying later on. Okay, so that I think the other part also has been started. Okay, between said. So Raoult-Horich criteria, I think he has started. So that is the beginning of one of the stability criteria. Okay, now with the transfer function you are able to understand the stability, but actually when a system operates, it does not operate in S domain, because in practical system every machine or every equipment or every system operates in time domain, because whenever you are giving any input to a system, you will be giving the input in a time domain. Suppose you are giving a voltage to a particular, you are supplying a voltage to a electrical machine. So voltage, if it is a sinusoidal, or you can say AC voltage, so it will be sinusoidal. So it will, the equation will be sin omega t, with respect t means time. So it is every signal or every input is with respect to the time domain. So transfer function is S domain. So why we are dealing with S domain? Because with the help of S domain we are able to understand the, or you can say it helps, it becomes quite easier for us to determine the stability of a system. That is why we transform everything to S domain in the form of transfer function. But actually the system is in time domain. So we have to analyze the time domain also, time domain, and then we will be analyzing the S domain. So every system that we know, okay, so it is in time domain. Now time response, what is time response? The manner in which a dynamic system responds to an input expressed as a function of time is called time response. That means when a system, whenever you are giving some input to a system, and that input is with respect to time, suppose you are giving a voltage, the voltage is say A sin omega t, okay, or Vm sin omega t. So that means that input is a voltage signal with respect to time. Whenever you are supplying the voltage to a particular system, the system will respond on the voltage, that the system will respond on the signal, input signal, and how it behaves to the input signal, how it responds, that is called the time response. Okay. Okay, so that we will be studying over here. So now the time response of a control system is usually divided into two parts. We have two parts. One is the transient response, one is the steady state response. Now transient response and transient analysis, I think you have some idea because this term has already been familiar with you in the circuit theory or network theory course. Okay, so transient response is the same as you have studied earlier in your circuit theory or network theory, that it is that part of the time response which is present during initial period and decays to zero as time increases. That means whenever there is a sudden change in a system, okay, there will be some transient. That means the response which you will get will not be as per the desired input. You will get some variations, and you can say random variation or an abrupt variation. After slowly that variation changes and you get a steady state response. Okay, suppose you see this particular figure 6.1. you can see this straight line is RT. What is RT? RT is the input signal, because we have seen in transfer function in a block diagram, suppose GS is the transfer function, okay, RS is the input and CS is the output. Now this is in S domain. S domain, now in time domain, this RS is nothing but RT. The signal is RT and CS is small ct. So RT is the input signal in time domain and CT is the input signal in output signal in time domain. Okay. Now whenever you are giving one input RT, then the output which you will get will be similar to it. That means suppose you are also expecting a same output like this straight line, but ultimately it is not a straight line, because it will be a straight line after a certain instant of time. Initially it won't be a straight line, there will be some transient, there will be some abrupt magnitude, then after that it becomes stable and then you get a continuous output. So now if you plot this particular graph between CT and with respect to time, you see that the input is linear but output is not linear up till this point, up to this point, and after that it becomes linear. So during this duration it is called the transient period, because within this time the output was not smooth, it was transient. There was some difference in output for every instant of time. The signal was not continuous. Then after this instant it became stable. So this duration is called the transient period, and after that it becomes steady state. It is called the steady state period because it became steady. The state becomes steady. It was a steady state condition. And this is the steady state error. What is error? Because see, input and output, there is some gap between them. So initially when there was transient, the gap was not continuous, it was different, a different instant of time. So that error was called transient error. And after the steady state period, the error is called steady state error, because the error is steady also. Because just like the output, the error becomes steady. Because if the output is steady with respect to input, the difference will also be steady. The error will be steady. So these are just two different parts of any response. One is the transient response, and the duration is called the transient period. And after that we get the steady state response, and the duration is called the steady state period. Okay. So in steady state, this is the response of the system after the transient component has decayed and is a function of both time dynamics as system dynamics and input quantity. The total response of a system is always the sum of the transient and the steady state components. That is, whenever you will represent any particular output response, a response of any output, you will represent in the combination of both transient and steady state. Okay. So this figure, as we have already mentioned, okay, So one major objective of the control system design in many cases is to minimize this error. So this error has to be minimized. Okay, so after the steady state has achieved, but still you will see some gap is there. So our goal is to minimize this error. Okay, so that we will be study as we proceed in this particular section. Okay, now standard test signals. Now suppose you have designed a particular equipment or a system, say a robot or a machine, and you are giving, and you have designed a system so that you want to give some input and you want to get some output. Suppose you have designed a particular temperature sensor, digital temperature sensor. Okay, so that means in the input it will be getting the temperature of something, the physical contact, it will be touching some component and touching some surface. Okay, so it has some temperature sensor, it will detect the temperature and it will display the output. It will display the output in the LED screen. Okay, so output is the display, okay, in degrees Celsius. Now whenever a system is designed, always before operating or before testing it to the actual signal, we generally test with some test signal, some benchmark. Okay, so benchmark means some test signals which are used to check whether the system operates properly or not. That means benchmark or test signals are fixed. That means these signals are being used for ages, for the last many decades. Okay, and whenever a machine is being manufactured or a system is being manufactured, it is desirable to test that system with the test signal or check that system with the test signal, because we know that the previous, suppose you are suppose you are manufacturing a new mobile phone. So previous model used to operate perfectly. Okay, you have made some changes, in the processor, in the RAM, okay, in the operating system, whatever, and you want to check whether the performance of this new model is better than the previous model. So for that, what you have to do, you know that in the previous year, the previous model, which was 2020 model, performed performance you have already checked using some benchmark test. You know, benchmark test is done whenever you see a new mobile phone. You see many YouTube channels, they generally give you the analysis of different benchmarks. Okay, so one mobile is showing benchmark of 1700. You will say that next year the model is giving the performance of 1900. That means that it has a better processor and it is more optimized. So what is this benchmark actually? These are actually some test signals. So you see some video is played, okay, then some CPU throttling test is done. So these are some test signals. That particular app performs some test signals on that particular phone, and that app, whenever you will install every phone, it will perform every same signal or same type of, you can say, test will be performed on every device, because those are test signals. Okay, those are the basic signals. With the help of those signals, it will identify what is the RAM management, what is the processing speed, highest you can say the processing speed, or you can say the turbo boost of the processing speed. Okay, it will also sense the cameras, check the cameras, quality of the cameras, everything. So these are test signals. So with the help of these test signals, every individual device is tested. So that means in 2020, the model phone which was manufactured, that was tested or checked with some test signals, and you have the report with you. Obviously, when you manufactured the new model, you want to make sure that the new model makes or gives you better performance compared to the previous signal or previous model. So the same set of signals will be used for checking the new model also, so that the new model performs better. So those are the test signals for that purpose. So that means in every field of engineering we have some test signals. So in control system also we do check the system with some test signals. Okay, so those are called standard test signals. So for some control systems, the input has a specific form that can be represented either by an analysis expression or a specific curve. On the other hand, the inputs to many other control systems are exactly known ahead of time. That means the inputs are known to us, because since the last few decades same input is used. So we know that what is the input. Suppose you want to check the thermometer. So what you do, you take a ice and you measure the temperature of the ice. When the ice starts melting, all of you know, we have studied in your school level that the melting point of ice is 0 degrees Celsius. Okay, so when it is melting, it will be 0. As long as it melts completely, it will remain at 0, and after it melts, then the temperature again will rise. When it is in liquid form, it will rise. So during melting, if the temperature of your sensor which you have designed is not showing 0 degree, that means there is some error, because that ice has to be 0. It cannot be less than 0 or more than 0. So that is a test signal. Okay. So in this way, that means the input is already known to us, because we know that 0 degree will be coming. So output should be 0 degree. But if it is not 0 degree, so there is some error. Okay. So in such cases, the actual inputs of a control system may vary in random fashion with respect to time. For the purpose of analysis and design, it is thus necessary to assume some best type of test signals so that the performance of the system can be evaluated, and also various systems can be compared on a common ground. That means some common, or you can say best test signals are used for every system, so that the system which you have designed, you can compare it with the other devices or other previous model designs or systems properly. Okay. This is particularly useful for linear systems, since the response to complex signals can be determined by superimposing those due to combination of standard test signals. So in the following test signals with unit amplitude are often used in checking the response of a system. So these are the few test signals. Okay. Number one is sinusoidal function. We all know sinusoidal function. So r cos theta or r sin theta, sinusoidal or cosinusoidal, whatever. Cos means it is not sinusoidal, it is not like that. Cos means nothing but it is a cosinusoidal. Okay. That means there is a phase difference of 90 degree. So it is just referring to that as cos omega t or sin omega t. And RT is the input signal in time domain. Okay. Then we have the power series. There is also one signal. Okay, test signal. Then we have the impulse function, step function, ramp function, and parabolic function. So last four are the mostly used test functions or test signals in control systems. Sinusoidal is also used, but for, you can say, sinusoidal becomes a little bit complex because it has omega in it. But impulse, step, then ramp and parabolic are very commonly used and very simple functions, test functions. And if these functions are used, then the system performance can be easily determined. Okay. Now let us talk about the impulse function. What is impulse function? Impulse functions look like this. So from the figure you can see the magnitude of the impulse is only present when time is 0 degree. That means when time is 0 degree, then only you will get the magnitude. Otherwise you will not get the magnitude, because if the time is less than 0, because on the left hand side the time is less than 0, here the time is less than 0, and on the right hand side the time is greater than 0. So when time is less than 0, then the magnitude is 0. You can see over here, integration of delta t. Delta t means it is the signal magnitude, amplitude. When the signal is present, when you are measuring the amplitude of the signal from minus infinity to 0, 0 minus means just before 0, initial condition, then the magnitude is 0. And if the signal, if you want to measure, is plus, from plus 0, 0 plus, that means just after 0, 0 plus, okay, that means 0.00001 or whatever, just a fraction after 0, up to plus infinity, then also it is 0. So only when it is between minus 0 to plus 0, that means exact 0, then only you will get the magnitude. Okay, then you will get the magnitude. That means for minus infinity to plus infinity, you will get 1, but when? At 0 only. Okay, so I can write like this: from minus infinity to plus infinity, I will get 1. Okay, but it does not mean that for every interval I will get 1. I will get 1 only when time is equals to 0, at 0. So it is called the impulse. Yes, impulse function. Okay. Now this delta will be 1 if it is a unit impulse. Unit impulse means this value is 1. Okay. And if it is not 1, then if it is 2, 3, 4 or whatever, alpha, beta, it can be anything. So in practice, realization of such a ideal impulse is not possible. Thus it generally defined as a pulse width of epsilon tends to the 0. That means perfect or ideal impulse is not possible, because you cannot get a signal which is exactly at 0, it is having some magnitude, and other than 0 it is not having some magnitude. Because if you visualize this carefully, time, what is time? There is no particular definition of time, because time 0, t0 at any particular fraction, it is told that at t0 magnitude should be delta t, or else it is 0. So if you see the width, so how much is the 0 time? It is up to here, or this one, or this much, or this much. How much? Means how much should be the time expansion that the magnitude is 0, 1 only at the time 0. What I meant to say, that the time t is equals to 0. So what is the length of the time, so that the magnitude is only means possible only at that particular time? Because if you go less than time 0, then it is magnitude is 0. If the time is more than 0, then magnitude is 0. So magnitude is only there, it is delta only when time is 0. So what is the width of the time? What is the breadth of the time, length of the time? That is not possible to measure, because एक second कितने के लिए है? एक second के लिए एक second है. So if I plot in graph, so what should be 1 centimeter, 1 millimeter, 1 nanometer, 1 micrometer, or 1 meter? Are you getting my point? For how long should I draw this line to mention that yes, from here to here the time is 0? I can say no, why from here to here? Time 0 can be from here to here. Or one can say no, it is not possible. Time 0 has to be dot. And even if it is a dot, if you zoom in 1000 times, so dot will also look like this. So it is perfectly 0, perfectly 1 second. That is also not possible to measure. That is why we are, when we are drawing this particular line, straight line, okay, a thin straight line using a pencil or a pen, if you zoom in, you will see that thin is no longer thin, it is become a bold one. That is why we in representation we write like this, that ideally it is not possible to mention that impulse signal is there at time 0, it is magnitude is 1 or magnitude is positive, otherwise it is 0, not possible. That is why we represent in this way and write epsilon is the duration, as if epsilon tends to 0, not duration, the width. Epsilon is width and it tends to 0. Okay, and height is 1 by epsilon. Okay, so what is the area then? Epsilon into 1 by epsilon, that is 1. So strength of such a unit impulse is 1. That is why the Laplace, when you find the Laplace, you will get 1. Okay, so in Laplace domain, the input is 1. That means in time domain, the RT, if you say that I have an impulse signal, test signal is impulse, and I want to use this impulse signal as a test signal for checking the performance of my system. So it is a benchmark function or test signal function. So that is del t. It is called impulse. And if you convert into Laplace, it becomes 1. So it is a benchmark function or test signal function. So that is del t. It is called impulse. And if you convert into Laplace, it becomes 1. So it is a benchmark function or test signal function. So that is del t. It is called impulse. And if you convert into Laplace, it becomes 1. So that means whenever you are checking the stability of any system, you will check in S domain. If you are checking in S domain, then if the input is 1, your signal is 1, that is a test signal. That means you are giving impulse as test signal, or impulse function as a test signal. Okay, did you get this particular equation? Did you understand the impulse signal and impulse function?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, so the utility of the impulse is in its ability to identify the transfer function of a unknown system. Suppose you have a transfer function like this one, a basic transfer function. Input is Rs, output is Cs. So what is Gs? Gs is equals to Cs by Rs, and Cs is equals to Gs into Rs. So input, this unit impulse signal or response is RT equals to del T. Why unit? Unit means after Laplace transform you will become 1. Okay, it is having magnitude 1. Okay, so the output will be Cs equals to Gs Rs. So if Rs is 1, so Cs will be equals to Gs. It means that the input impulse inputs, the Laplace transform of the output signal is same as the transfer function of the system. So if you are giving 1 as input, that in the S domain, that means you are giving the impulse function as the input signal. If the input signal is 1, then the output transfer function will be output signal will be equals to the transfer function of the system. Whatever output you will get, that is equals to the transfer function itself, because the signal is, there is a input is 1. Okay, now talk about steps function. Now step function is another test signal where the magnitude is positive at 0 and more than 0. Okay, at 0 more than 0, or you can say it is if it is more than 0. Okay, that means when it is less than or equals to 0, that means at 0 or less than 0, then the magnitude is 0. Okay, and if it is greater than 0, then you are getting 1. So this step means like a step, like a direct current. Okay, so when the time is just above 0, then you will get the signal. If it is less than 0, then it is 0, magnitude is 0. So it is represented like this: RT, which is the input function with respect to time, is equals to AUT. UT is the representation of the step function. Okay, A is the amplitude. This is A is amplitude. If A is 1, then we call it unit step function. If A is not 1, is not equals to 1, then we call it a simple step function. Okay, so U will be 1 when t is greater than 0. So if you multiply A with 1, then the answer will be A, and if A is 1, then the whole RT will be 1. So here also, if you supply a unit step function, then the output will be 1, but in time domain. If you see the previously, in time domain, impulse function was not 1, impulse function was del t. Laplace domain of the impulse function is 1, but in step function, unit step function, the time the input in the time domain is 1. If A is 1, then it is 1, but the input, the step function in S domain or Laplace domain is not equals to 1, it is A by S. Okay, and if A is 1, then it is 1 by S. So that means if A is 1, then the Rs value will be 1 by S. So that means if your system is having an input function of 1 by S or input signal of 1 by S, that means you will understand that the test signal which is being supplied to the system is a unit step function. Okay, it is a unit step function. Okay. Okay, for unit step, the magnitude A is 1, so Rs equals to 1 by S, as I've told you. Now there can be time shifted also. Time shifted means you don't want the signal to start at 0. You want to start the signal at some time t0. T0 can be anything. It can be after 1 second, it can be about 5 seconds, 10 seconds, whatever. So your input is a step signal, and if it is a unit step signal, but you want the signal to start from some time lag. You want to input some lag in the signal. Then how can I do that? Then the time t will be t0. That means after t0, then you will get magnitude. Before t0, it will be 0. Just like over here, what you have written, t greater than 0, then the signal is 1. T less than equals to 0, signal is 0. In this case, it will be t greater than t0, then it is 1. And if t less than 0, it is 0. Okay, less than t0 actually, not 0, less than t0. Then your function ut will become ut minus t0. Ut minus t0, okay, because over here ut means it is ut minus 0. Ut means it is ut minus 0. Okay, ut minus 0, because over here t0 is 0. Okay, so there is no shifting. So whenever you add some shift in it, whenever you add t0 as shift, then you have to write like this, ut minus t0. Okay, suppose you want to make the shift as 10 seconds, so you will write ut minus 10. That means your signal will start after 10 seconds. This is ut, or is rt, sorry, rt. Okay, then what will be your Laplace transform? It will be 1 by s e to the power minus s t0. Okay, e to the power minus s t0, because over here in this case, if t0 is 0, then e to the power minus s t0, that means e to the power minus s 0, that means 1. That is why we have only a by s. Okay, we have only a by s, but over here we have a by s into s into e to the power minus s t0. Okay, so this is the Laplace transform of the shifted unit step function. Now we will be moving on to the ramp function. What is ramp function? Ramp function looks like this. It is like a ramp. You can say like a linear straight line, a ramp function. Okay, so it is not perpendicular or like impulse, and it is not horizontal like step. It is diagonal, and it is called the ramp function. So from here what you can see, it shows that when the time is less than 0, then there is no magnitude, then the amplitude is 0. But when the time is more than 0, okay, more than 0, then you will get some linear graph like this. Then the output is equals to time. That means now the slope may be equals to t or not. Okay, it may change. If you focus on this function, the ramp signal is represented by this rho. Rho means ramp signal. Input is rho, that means input is ramp signal, which is equals to a into t into ut. Now why ut? Ut is the step signal, step function. Okay, because step function is given because it is very similar to step. Because in step function, what we have seen, when time is greater than 0, then you get some magnitude. In impulse function, magnitude is only there when time is 0. Okay, so greater than 0 is also magnitude is 0, and time less than 0, then also the magnitude is 0. Okay, so that means this ramp function can be called to be similar to step function. Okay, this can be called similar to step function. That is why the ramp signal is obtained by multiplying time with step signal. If you multiply time t, then what? Then you are multiplying ut. Ut means at time less than 0, less than equals 0, it is 0, and greater than 0, it is 1. So less than 0, if it is 0, then the entire thing will be 0. And if it is time more than 0, then the unit step function is 1. So it will be a into t into 1. That means a into t into 1. That is a into t. And t means time. So that means if a is 1, then rho t will be equals to only t, because if this is 1 and this is already 1 greater than 0, then rho t will be t. So at 1 second this will be 1, at 2 second this will be 2. Okay, that means it will be linear like this. Okay, now if you want that the value of a not to be equals to 1, if the value is 2, suppose if the value is 2, then what will happen? Then the slope will change. Then the slope will change like this. Let me show you. Suppose this is y-axis, this is x-axis. Okay. So previously this slope was like this. Okay, it was almost equals to t. Now you want this slope to be like this, in this way. So here if I denote like this, in this way, this is 1 magnitude, this is time, so this is time, this is amplitude, you can say RT. Okay, if this is 2, then this will be 2. It was possible for this slope, this was possible for this. Because it was t. Now this one is not t. Suppose this is 2t. 2t means when time is 1, okay, suppose it is in this way, time is 1, then the magnitude is 1. When time is 2, then the magnitude is 4. Okay, that means if you want to change the slope, then you multiply with some constant. If you want to reduce the slope, okay, if you want to reduce the slope, if you want that the slope will be like this, then the value of this a will be 0.5t. That means at 2 seconds magnitude is 1, at 4 seconds the magnitude is 2, like this. At 4 seconds the magnitude is 2. That is why it is written over here like this, that it is alpha, sorry, a into t. So a is the slope. So if a is 1, then the slope will be linear, then the output will be equals to t. If slope is 2, then it will be steeper, and if slope is less than 1, it will be flatter. It will be, you can say it is closer to the x-axis. Okay. Now what is the Laplace transform of this ramp function? Ramp function Laplace transform is a by s square. A is a slope. If the slope is 1, that means it is a unit ramp. The slope is unity. It is 1 by s square. Okay. So then what we have learned? We have learned that for an impulse, the Laplace is 1. For a step, the Laplace is 1 by s. For ramp, it is 1 by x square. Okay. Now there can be shifted ramp also. That means you don't want the ramp to start at 0, you want to start at t0. The same thing over here, rho t will be written as rho t minus t0, which equals to a t minus t0 u t minus t0. You just replace t with t minus t0. Similarly for impulse also and for ramp also. Okay. And here also the Laplace transform will be a by s square e to the power minus st0. Got this? Did you understand this? Or if you are unable to understand, please tell me. It is not that critical one, it is quite easy. Okay, so I am proceeding. Now the parabolic function, this is the last test signal. Parabolic, all of you know it is a parabola. So its representation is like this. Parabolic represents like P. Okay, RT is equals to PT, where it is equals to a t square by 2 ut. So again it is represented with respect to the step function, because less than 0 time it is 0, and when it is more than 0 then it is having some magnitude. So less than equals to 0 means it is 0, and more than 0 time means it is having some magnitude. Okay, so it is represented as a t square by 2 ut. Okay, and here again we will have some slope a, and the Laplace of the parabolic function is a by s cube, and for magnitude if a is 1 then it is 1 by s cube. Okay, so that means for impulse it is 1, Laplace is 1, for step it is 1 by s, for ramp it is 1 by x square, and for parabolic it is 1 by x cube. And same thing, if you want it to be shifted, you just write t minus t0. Clear? Now we will be discussing about the time response analysis. Now time domain we have understood. Then how to represent time domain, because if you are from S domain, we just convert, we find the Laplace inverse, we have to represent in time domain RT and CT, and there are some test signals that we have seen. Now you have to see, whenever you have a system, okay, any physical system, then how the system operates on these particular signals, and these signals are time signals, time domain signals, then we call it time domain response or time response analysis. So we will talk about the first order signal. Okay, first we will talk about first order, then we will go for the second order and higher order. What is order? I have already explained in the previous, you can say, module. I have discussed about order and type. If you can remember, if there is a transfer function, because first order means we will talk about the transfer function. So suppose we have a transfer function like this, s plus 2 in the numerator, and denominator we all know that in denominator the exponent is greater. So suppose it is represented like this, okay, 2s plus 5. So what is the order of the system? Anyone, if you can remember?
So 4.
4 is the order, because 4 is the maximum exponent, because if you multiply this then you will get s plus 2 by s to the power 4 plus 2s cube plus 5s square. So the order is 4. Order is 4. And what is type? What is the type of the system?
2.
Type is 2, because type means the number of s at the origin, because the solution at the origin. So the solution of s will be 2 will be at the origin, and then we will have 2 more values which we have to determine using the Siddharacharya. That means those will be complex conjugate values. So order is 4 because we have 4 solutions of s, and 2 solutions will be 0. That means 2 poles at the origin. So it is type is 2. So over here it is told that first order system means the system will be of first order, that is, say 1 by s plus 2. It is a first order system. Numerator is 1, denominator is s plus 2 because the order is 1. It is called a first order system. Now, as I have told you that the physical systems are in time domain. Then we convert them into S domain for stability analysis. But initially they are all time domain, isn't it? Your machine is operating with respect to time. Everything operates with respect to time. So, suppose the differential equation of the system is represented like this. A0 differentiation of Ct, where Ct is the output and Rt is the input. Okay, in time domain. Now what you have to do, you have to convert it into S domain. You have to find the Laplace transform of this particular equation number 30. So if you find the Laplace transform, then you will get the solution in the S domain. So all of you know that whenever you perform the Laplace transform of any differentiation derivative, it becomes S into Laplace transform of that function minus initial condition of the function. C0 is the initial condition. So it is A0 bracket SCS minus C0 plus A1, then Ct becomes Cs equals to B, Rt becomes Rs. It is the Laplace transform of the input, equation. Okay, and C0 is the initial value at T0. Now, if the equations are rearranged and if I want to represent with respect to Cs, because with respect to output, then the output signal is equals to this. Okay, so you can see there are two components, first one and second one. Now first one has the actual parameters, second one has the initial parameter, because this second component is the initial one, because the first component is due to the forcing input function or simply the input function, because the first component has the input function Rs. Second component does not have input function, it has the initial function, or the output at the initial condition. Okay, output at the initial condition. So these two components are independent of each other for a linear system, and the overall output can be obtained by simple algebraic summation of the individual responses due to the input Rs and initial conditions. Now we will examine the performance one by one. Suppose case 1. In case 1, the time response, we want to see how the output of the system is obtained. So let us see in case 1 the time response when the initial condition is present and there is no external input. That means I want to see the system when it is operating without input. Without input, that means a machine has been designed or a system has been modeled and you want to see the output without any input. How is that possible? Because there will be some initial output, because whenever you are giving, when you are tested already previously, now whenever you switch on without giving any input signal, so there will be some output response previously, and how does it operate with that we have to check. That is why it is told. So this is mathematically represented that the case 1 will be there is no input. We will only analyze the output with respect to the initial condition of the output. Okay, that means input is not there, so first component will be 0. So Cs will be equals to A0 C0 by A0 S plus 1. Okay, only the initial condition is there. Then Cs, we have to solve this. Cs becomes C0 by S plus A by C0. This is the output. Now, since our system is in time domain, because our machine is operating with respect to time. Okay, so whenever we will test some signal, we will get the output, we will convert into Laplace. See, listen carefully. Whenever we will see the performance of a system, response, time response analysis, we will see that whenever we give some input which is in time domain and check the output in time domain. But In between, we have to convert into S domain, otherwise we cannot check the performance, because in control system we always have to convert into S domain in the Laplace transform. So this is the trick. So number one step is your function, your equation will be in time domain, because your system which is operating is in time domain. Okay. Step number two, what to do? In step number two, you will convert into S domain. You convert to S domain, you consider your case. Okay, you consider your case. Once you consider the case, then you have the in output signal. One second, wait. Okay, so the output which is there, it is in S domain. Now we have already found the response, that in our case what we have seen, the initial condition is the only input over here. Then what will be the output? So we have tested and we have seen the output is like this, but this will not give us the solution in time domain. We have to convert into time domain once again, because we have analyzed the performance in S domain. For that we need the time domain, but after that again we have to convert into we need the S domain, again we have to convert to time domain. That means, suppose you are a programmer, you have written some code. Okay, you have written some code, or you suppose there is you are a programmer, you have designed one website and there is a customer. Okay, so a user, user will sit in the computer, he will click with the mouse and click on something. Suppose they have opened your college website, okay, Chaivas Engineering College, and they are clicking on the departments. So if you click on the department, you will see all the names of department will open, and you click on their electrical engineering department, and then you will get the information about electrical engineering department. But whenever the person is clicking on department, the system, or you can say the website, will not show the electrical department directly. What you will do, they will sense the input that the user has clicked on the department section. Then the program code is run in that way that if you click on the department section, then this code will be executed, and accordingly, if department 1 is selected, then department 1 with respect to that output of 1 will be shown. Department 2 is selected, then output with respect to department 2 is selected. So like that, if department of electrical engineering is selected, then this has to be shown. So in this way, inside there is a code, but the user who is using the computer, the customer does not know all those things. Whenever you click department, you see department is showing. When you click electrical engineering department, the information is shown. But inside, whatever is happening, you don't know. So inside it, the program conversion is there, and when the code is executed, then again the output to the customer is not shown in the code. The output is shown after converting into image or visualization or graphics. So the user is seeing some graphics, clicking, inside it there is a program, and according to the click input, the program changes, execution occurs, execution happens, and then the output, when the program wants to show the output, it again converts into graphics and shows to the user. Same thing over here also. The input is in time domain. The machine is operating in time. But whenever you want to see the response, you cannot directly see the response in time. It is very much tedious, because if you want to solve this, suppose this is first order, still easy. Suppose it is a 50th order system, then you cannot solve it like that. For that, you have to convert into S domain. After conversion, then you will check the response. Then when you get the output, that means CS is the output, CS equals to something you have got, then again you perform the Laplace inverse, then you write in terms of time domain. Then you show the output. This is the output response. Okay? Did you get it? Did you understand this part?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So in case 1, what was there? It was shown that only C0 is the input. So C0 is input, so CS equals to something C0 by S plus A1 plus A0, A1 by A0. Now this CS has to be, you have to find the Laplace inverse. So CT, so CT equals to Laplace inverse of that. So after that we get the CT is equal to C0 e to the power minus A1 by A0 t. Okay, and if A1 or A0 by A1 is a constant and is represented by capital T, so it is C0 e to the power minus T by capital T. Okay, and where capital T is a time constant because it is a constant and with respect to time. Now if you want to plot it, since if you see this is an e to the power minus equation, that is it is exponentially decreasing function, isn't it? You have studied in your circuit theory also this part, it is very common. Suppose e to the power minus alpha t, so that means it is an exponentially decreasing function. So it is exponentially decreasing. So when this time t is equals to the constant t, then it becomes e to the power minus 1. So it becomes 0.368 C0. Okay. Now one more case I am showing you. Okay, one more case. So suppose the time response due to the impulse. Suppose this time we are giving the impulse as input. Okay, suppose we are giving the input as impulse and we are considering the initial condition to be 0. Same equation, this one. Same equation, Laplace transform, we are getting same thing, equation number 33. This is the equation we have to work with. In this case, it is told that the input is impulse. So that means Rs becomes 1, input is impulse function, and initial condition is 0. So only Cs will be B by A0S plus A1. So initial condition is 0, impulse is the input. So it is B by A0S plus A1. So you have to represent in the form of a first order system. That is S plus something, first order system. Okay, you have to represent like this. Once you represent, then you find the inverse Laplace of Cs. You get B0 B by A0 e to the power minus same thing. So here also it is an exponentially decreasing function. Okay, so the values may change depending upon A0 and all these things. Okay, value will change. Here it was C0 was there. Or over here it is not C0, it is B by A0. Okay, so the response is exponentially decreasing, but there is some change in the output. Okay, same thing over here also. If you give step input, a step input or unit step, okay, then it is 1 by S, initial condition 0, then Rs is 1 by S, so our equation becomes this one. So in this way you have to observe that how your system operates. The step means like this, it will be exponentially increasing. See, it is exponentially increasing. 1 minus this one is our output. I'm just skipping this part because I think you can understand. If I share the notes with you, then you will be able to understand. It is quite easy. Okay. Then because you see over here 1 minus e to the power t by capital T. Okay, and last one, if it is a ramp signal, then it will be 1 minus s square, 1 by s square, then accordingly you will get a response like this. Okay, there is some numerical, so I will discuss in the next class. Okay, because otherwise it will be more saturated for you. Okay, so I think these basic concept you have understood, that whenever you are determining any time response, okay, time response analysis, then always remember that the system is in time domain. Then you have to convert that into S domain, and then you have to check the response, check the output. Once you get the equation of the output, then the next step will be you have to convert that into time domain and then represent in time domain, and then plot the graph, because without time domain you cannot plot the graph, because you cannot plot a graph in S domain, because you want to know the response in actual time, reality. So reality means time. It is not S domain. Complex domain is not a reality. It is just for assumption for calculation. But actual practical reality is the time domain. Okay, so the output which is there, it is in S domain. Now we have already found the response, that in our case what we have seen, the initial condition is the only input over here. Then what will be the output? So we have tested and we have seen the output is like this, but this will not give us the solution in time domain. We have to convert into time domain once again, because we have analyzed the performance in S domain. For that we need the time domain, but after that again we have to convert into we need the S domain, again we have to convert to time domain. That means, suppose you are a programmer, you have written some code. Okay, you have written some code, or you suppose you are a programmer, you have designed one website and there is a customer. Okay, so a user. So user will sit in the computer, he will click with the mouse and click on something. Suppose they have opened your college website, okay, Chaivas Engineering College, and they are clicking on the departments. So if you click on the department, you will see all the names of department will open, and you click on their electrical engineering department, and then you will get the information about electrical engineering department. But whenever the person is clicking on department, the system, or you can say the website, will not show the electrical department directly. What you will do, they will sense the input that the user has clicked on the department section. Then the program code is run in that way that if you click on the department section, then this code will be executed, and accordingly, if department 1 is selected, then department 1 with respect to that output of 1 will be shown. Department 2 is selected, then output with respect to department 2 is selected. So like that, if department of electrical engineering is selected, then this has to be shown. So in this way, inside there is a code, but the user who is using the computer, the customer does not know all those things. Whenever you click department, you see department is showing. When you click electrical engineering department, the information is shown. But inside, whatever is happening, you don't know. So inside it, the program conversion is there, and when the code is executed, then again the output to the customer is not shown in the code. The output is shown after converting into image or visualization or graphics. So the user is seeing some graphics, clicking, inside it there is a program, and according to the click input, the program changes, execution occurs, execution happens, and then the output, when the program wants to show the output, it again converts into graphics and shows to the user. Same thing over here also. The input is in time domain. The machine is operating in time. But whenever you want to see the response, you cannot directly see the response in time. It is very much tedious, because if you want to solve this, suppose this is first order, still easy. Suppose it is a 50th order system, then you cannot solve it like that. For that, you have to convert into S domain. After conversion, then you will check the response. Then when you get the output, that means CS is the output, CS equals to something you have got, then again you perform the Laplace inverse, then you write in terms of time domain. Then you show the output. This is the output response. Okay? Did you get it? Did you understand this part?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So in case 1, what was there? It was shown that only C0 is the input. So C0 is input, so CS equals to something, C0 by S plus A1 plus A0, A1 by A0. Now this CS has to be, you have to find the Laplace inverse. So CT, so CT equals to Laplace inverse of that. So after that we get the CT is equal to C0 e to the power minus A1 by A0 T. Okay. And if A0 by A1 is a constant and it is represented by capital T, so it is C0 e to the power minus T by capital T. Okay. and where capital T is a time constant because it is a constant and with respect to time. Now if you want to plot it, since if you see this is an e to the power minus equation, that is it is exponentially decreasing function, isn't it? You have studied in your circuit theory also this part, it is very common. Suppose e to the power minus alpha t, so that means it is an exponentially decreasing function. So it is exponentially decreasing. So when this time t is equals to the constant t, then it becomes e to the power minus 1. So it becomes 0.368 C0. Okay. Now one more case I am showing you. Okay. One more case. So suppose the time response due to the impulse, suppose this time we are giving the impulse as input. Okay, suppose we are giving the input as impulse and we are considering the initial condition to be 0. Same equation, this one. Same equation, Laplace transform, we are getting same thing, equation number 33. This is the equation we have to work with. In this case, it is told that the input is impulse. So that means Rs becomes 1, input is impulse function, and initial condition is 0. So only Cs will be B by A0S plus A1. So initial condition is 0, impulse is the input. So it is B by A0S plus A1. So you have to represent in the form of a first order system. That is S plus something, first order system. Okay, you have to represent like this. Once you represent, then you find the inverse Laplace of Cs. You get B0 B by A0 e to the power minus same thing. So here also it is an exponentially decreasing function. Okay, so the values may change depending upon A0 and all these things. Okay, value will change. Here it was C0 was there. Or over here it is not C0, it is B by A0. Okay, so the response is exponentially decreasing, but there is some change in the output. Okay. Same thing over here also. If you give step input, a step input or unit step, okay, then it is 1 by S, initial condition 0, then Rs is 1 by S, so our equation becomes this one. So in this way you have to observe that how your system operates. The step means like this, it will be exponentially increasing. See, it is exponentially increasing. 1 minus this one is our output. I'm just skipping this part because I think you can understand. If I share the notes with you, then you will be able to understand. It is quite easy. Okay. Then because you see over here 1 minus e to the power t by capital T. Okay. And last one, if it is a ramp signal, then it will be 1 minus s square, 1 by s square. Then accordingly, you will get a response like this. Okay. Okay, there is some numerical, so I will discuss in the next class. Okay, because otherwise it will be more saturated for you. Okay. I think these basic concept you have understood, that whenever you are determining any time response, okay, time response analysis, then always remember that the system is in time domain. Then you have to convert that into S domain, and then you have to check the response, check the output. Once you get the equation of the output, then the next step will be you have to convert that into time domain and then represent in time domain, and then plot the graph, because without time domain you cannot plot the graph, because you cannot plot a graph in S domain, because you want to know the response in actual time, reality. So reality means time, it is not S domain. Complex domain is not a reality, it is just for assumption, for calculation, but actual practical reality is the time domain. Okay, so experiments related to this are there in the syllabus, so I will be doing that in the later class. Okay, next day. So all of you must have MATLAB with you all, because MATLAB is important. Okay, if you have any question, then you can ask. Any questions from your side? Okay, so Anisha,
No, sir.
Ashish, okay,
No, sir.
okay. Okay, so then thank you then. So we will meet again in the next class. Okay, so thank you.